peak that they'll want to do shift shop, so they're going to go ahead and continue with their bod membership. Does that include those free trial people that Carl looked into, or is it just, are they not included?
I don't know that answer.
Because I feel like maybe once those 14 days are up, like another week, when people are paying that bod membership, at that point, then hopefully it'll reflect a little bit more in terms of sales.
I hope so.
I did have a lot more coaches than new customers doing Sean Week, for sure.
And I think success can also, a different view of success is that, people who maybe not have been engaged previously are now re-engaged, and I would count that as success, even though it didn't necessarily reflect with the sale. So any other thoughts on this, on how you guys tackle Sean Week and how to take it to the next level?
Where did you say she was? Kevin, I just think that when coaches try something new for the first time, I think that they need to kind of gather that information and have a little longer on how they're going to turn around now and try to convert that to sales. I don't think it's like a show sales type of thing. So I think coaches were really doing it to learn about what this is, so they can turn around and start to develop their communications and their strategies to sell it.
Yeah, you're right. And this is something we've never done before. Usually when we have a launch, there's DVDs and there's a spike in sales. And because this was a BOD launch, that didn't necessarily happen with the spike in sales. But okay, so if you guys feel comfortable saying, yeah, we have a plan, it's still working itself out, we're still doing stuff, then absolutely. That's something that he hasn't thought yet that maybe is a possibility. So great. Okay, so on to today's topic, developing leaders within your team. Now, if you were a part of my last mastermind group, we did an entire book on this, on Mentoring 101. And so I would love to hear your takeaways from that mastermind group. What were the main things that you took away, and what you are implementing, or what you have implemented, or if you have questions about, I can't get people to step up to become leaders within your team, what are, you guys can bring those questions. But let's continue this conversation as far as building people into leaders on your team. Who wants to go first?
Very similar to that. Yeah. It was like even worse though. And he was like
Nobody. Okay. Well, I mean, we can. So it sounds like maybe we're nervous sharing what's working for us and as far as best practices go. But we can, Ashley, let's see what you have to say.
You want me?
Sure.
Hi guys, I'm Ashley. I'm new to the group. This is my first call with you guys. I feel like I struggle with this a lot because I feel like I baby my team and I just want them to be so successful, so that I just do too much for them and enable them. And I think this is something I'm really struggling with, like just even as far as like running challenge groups go. I'm always like, you can join my challenge groups and add your clients for the first 3 months, and then I never have the balls to kick them out. So, and then that limits them, because I honestly feel that they're like, well, if I only get 2 challengers, that's fine, because I could just add them to Ashley's group. Whereas if they were running their own group, they'd be like, oh, I need to hustle. I need to fill this challenge group. So I'm constantly in this struggle with how do I enable them to be, like, empower them to be leaders, but not feel like, oh, this is too much work, I'm getting overwhelmed, and just not do what they need to do. So I do have some leaders who step up, and obviously I'm constantly recognizing them publicly in our team and letting them run team calls and run trainings on my behalf. But I definitely need work in this area.
Yeah, and I think you're in the same boat as everybody else. Has anybody tried, as far as Ashley's point here of, not necessarily kicking them out, but having them feel that fear of loss, having them say, oh, I need to do this, or else there's a consequence attached to it. Has anybody tried, or are we all the same boat? Corinne, how did it go?
I did. It's been a while because sadly my team has dwindled. But when we had got to a point where we were really massive and we were all just like our challenge groups were becoming huge and totally losing that personal touch. So I asked at that time for the star diamonds in the group. There are 1 star diamonds in the group. On the team, and I asked them to break away with their smaller teams to try to lead their own. Those star diamonds were running the groups with me. Like we all had, we'd have a template and somebody would be in charge of the graphic and somebody would be in charge of uploading files to the challenge group and somebody would be in charge of making the schedule. And we all created the group together, and then they separately went into their downlines and said, okay, if you want to be in this group, here's all the information and add your people. And then when it got too big, I was like, okay, we need to do something here. So I asked if the Star Diamonds step up and run their own group just as we were, but on a smaller scale. And that worked for a little while. But then what we ended up finding was that some people within the team mesh well and have a more similar personality for running these groups than other people on the team. So whether they were in that downline or not, some people ended up going back and forth. Like, so now I run my challenge groups with 2 other coaches in my downline who are not my personally sponsored coaches. And then other coaches sometimes hop on if they have no other group to go into. But then again, it got a little out of hand last month. And I said, okay, guys, it's losing that personal touch. Everybody kind of was in agreement. It was getting so confusing to keep up with the group. And I said, I just asked it. We have a group message thread for all the admins. And I asked in there, I said, is anybody willing to step up and kind of create their own separate group with a group of other coaches? And I find that running challenge groups with a team of coaches is good because it adds a couple of different personalities to the groups for your challengers because everybody's different. I haven't had much success running full challenge groups by myself nor have any of the coaches on my team. And that's what's worked for us. But I definitely think that kind of takes a little bit of the fear off out of it for them, like instead of I got to do this all by myself, okay, let me find a couple of coaches that I mesh well with that have similar goals as me, are in the same place as their business, whatever it is that they connect with. It doesn't even have to be that, and join up as a force together and create it. It's basically just recreating what you've already done, but without you there. And that's helped for us on our team.
I like that a lot. I'm curious, Corinne, with that, because at some point, do you have do you establish a plan of, look, let me, we can do this together, but at some point we need to wean off, because if we do this together, then you're kind of creating that same problem again of dependency. And so we want to do it so that they can see that at some point they are far enough along they can do this themselves. So is there a plan of, okay, I do, you watch, and eventually we get to you do, I watch, and then eventually you do?
Not quite like that. For us, what we do is we rotate. So like if I'm running if I'm creating the full template for this month's challenge group, I'm not doing that next month. A different coach is doing it. So we basically, Google Doc the entire challenge group ahead of time and assign different coaches to certain posts, to certain live videos on certain days. And we rotate who's doing more of the live videoing, who's creating the template, who's, actually creating the group, so that everybody kind of gets the same, like I'm never doing more than anybody is within a couple of months. You know what I mean? Everybody ends up doing everything that's needed for the challenge group. And we all post within the group. It's not just my group for the month. So I'm posting all the posts. Everybody takes turns with that.
Julie, go ahead.
For my coaches, starting off with the new ones, I always have them shadow me in the first challenge group, depending on how fast they kind of blossom. By the second week, I'll go ahead and give them some tasks to do, whether it's posting or just anything, just to start to give it to them. But the first month with a new coach, it's about them shadowing me and seeing how I'm doing it. And then depending on how they react and how they respond, I start to give them tasks at least by the 3rd to 4th week. After that, I encourage them, my coaches, to buddy up always to buddy up with someone else and run a challenge group. But I always have them able to be a fly on the wall in my challenge groups for those who are a little insecure. So through the month of doing it with me, they're developing self-confidence and understanding on how to run a challenge group. And then in the second month, they're budding up with one other coach, starting to do it on their own, but knowing they still have kind of like a handheld in a distance with access to my challenge group. I encourage my coaches to do personal welcome videos so that they get used to displaying their personality so they can connect better with people. The system that we have is once or twice a week to do a live video in the group, so that right from the start, it's something our coaches are used to doing, and the importance of connecting with your personality. So I think for our strategy, it's just hand-holding in that first month and then encouraging that pairing up. And they love it because it keeps the group smaller. They both own that they have to fill it with new customers, and they're only able to run a new challenge group if they have new customers, not continuing to run challenge groups with old customers and old customers. That's what our virtual group is for, and that's another thing that we do.
I like that a lot. So maybe we need to dive in just a little bit deeper here on what maybe are the hurdles that you see that coaches have, or hypothetical hurdles. I know, I realize they're not actual hurdles, but in their mind it is. What are some of the hurdles that they have in regards to is why they don't make that leap to run their own groups or to become that leader that we think we know they are? What, maybe let's put together a little list so we can tackle it.
Lack of self-confidence.
Self-confidence is one. Okay. Are there others?
Yeah, I was going to say that because I was just looking at the responses in my just like push to diamond group, and a lot of girls are saying like, I don't feel comfortable inviting because I'm not a strong enough coach myself yet. And so I feel like I don't know. I also, along with challenge groups, I have problems with like sneak peek groups. Like from the beginning that I signed up as a coach, I became a coach, and that month I ran my own challenge group and ran my own sneak peek group. I wanted people to see me. But my coaches, they like are deathly afraid of doing that. They're like, oh, you speak so well. You really do a great job of explaining it. I'm not as good as you. So it's like the comparison game. They lack that self-confidence. They feel like they need to know it all. And so that's another thing I'm struggling with.
The not knowing everything yet is a big one.
Yeah, that's
so this isn't unique to Beachbody. I think this is in life. It all the way down to when we first were learning to ride a bike. We looked at the bike and said, nope. And then, we had a parent or a sibling or whoever behind us, guiding us, kind of holding the seat behind us. And then every now and then would let go and see if where we were at. And eventually the training wheels would come off and we'd be confident enough. But it's not a from not riding the bike to riding the bike. There is a process. And so a lot of the coaches, not a lot, some coaches I work with, they kind of do that whole approach of, well, just do it. The best thing to do is just to do it. Oh, okay, but that does get some response. But I think when it comes to developing leaders, there's a process. There's an art to it. And if we don't know that art form, maybe we're not getting the results that we want. And so to one of the points I need to make is to better people themselves. We need to be better. We need to know how to mentor. We need to know how to instruct. We need to know when the right time is to push and pull, and then to hold back a little bit. Those are all great things that you should be doing as far as your personal development goes. I know I tell you that, guys, when I do our one-on-ones, but that's what leadership is. It's maybe there's a certain way that works for us, but that's not how it works for everybody else. And the more we can relate to a wider audience, we know how to motivate people. It comes down to the gap principle. I think I may have mentioned it on the last call, but I feel like this is appropriate time again. That one of the biggest hurdles is I can't see myself doing what you're doing. I hope I didn't mention this last time, but I was in Boston a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to a coach who went. She goes, I went to this I can't remember his name, a guy coach who's in that area, and he did a training. And he said, when it comes to talking to brand new prospects. He goes, I could put together a killer video and an awesome training on what Beachbody is like, on what coaching is like, with all these cool graphics, whatever. And I can send it to him. And I can do a better job than what Beachbody does. I'm sure most people could. But he says, I don't do that. I send them the Beachbody link, because if I were to send them a video I put together, the first thought they have is, oh, wait, so if I do this, I need to put together a video that I need to send prospects. He says, when they have questions about Shakeology, I don't create Shakeology videos. He goes, I send them the podcast that has the answer, because it's easy to send a link. It's hard to create a video. It's that mental hurdle of, I can't see myself doing what you do. The more relatable we are, the more transparent we are, the more we're able to say, to narrow the gap of, yeah, you can do what I do, the more success you'll have. Not only as far as the invite goes, well, that was last week. Now we're doing it as far as leadership goes. If you are too perfect of a leader, if you are working your butt off day in, day out, and it is, you share that and you show that, people are like, I ain't got time for that. I'm too busy. My wife, I can't become a coach right now. But if you can show the silver lining in everything that you do of, I got crazy life, but I'm so blessed because of what this has done for me. And it's okay that my life's crazy. I'm able to fit it in, and here's how I fit it in. All that stuff narrows the gap. And so when people look at you and say, it's too wide of a gap, we're in a very bad spot. And so that's our job, is to help them see that they can do this. And then once again, guiding with the bike, holding on to that back seat, making sure that they can do it. And at some point, establishing a plan. I'll keep my mouth shut after this last point. Establishing a plan with them. Don't just assume they know what's happening. Talk to them. Put together a plan. Hey, this is our 60-day plan. You and me, you're one of my top leaders. I want a starting point, which is today, and here is let's establish what an end point looks like in 60 days or 90 days or whatever. If you were to look back in 90 days, what would you have accomplished? And then let's write down those things and put together a plan, because that's what's going to make you a better leader. It's not going to happen by chance. It's not going to happen just with time. It's going to happen because we have a plan in place. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time and follow up on execution on your end, but are we not looking for more leaders? And it's not going to come by recruiting more. It's going to come because you're going to take the people you have and build them into leaders. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. I need to. Other people have comments, questions. Kelly, welcome finally to our. Hopefully you can talk. And you said you had some things you want to say.
Baby's asleep now. My team, I don't have a huge team, but I have a lot of leaders on my team. And I think it really started, and this goes back to what I feel like I talk about all the time, is treating my challengers like coaches from the beginning and making them do the activities that are going to draw people to them. And then when someone asks them a question, make sure that they know that it's okay to not know the answers to everything, and just say to someone, hey, you know what? I'm new at this. I don't know. Let me ask my coach. And that's how I was treated that's how I had to learn. I taught myself everything I know. So when I came in, it was, you know what? I don't know the answer, but if you give me an hour or two, I'll go find it for you. Or I went to the FAQs, and making sure that people know where to look. A lot of times when my coaches ask questions in my team page, I give them 3 letters, FAQ. And I say, when you find that answer, come back here and tell everybody. Because not that I don't want to help them. I'm a teacher, and I know that if I tell them the answer, they're not going to remember it. But if they look it up, it's the same thing I do for my kids at school. I'm never going to give them the answer. I'm going to make them find it. And that has seemed to help. It gives them more confidence, because then they at least know where to look for answers. That's great. That goes way back. When I was in the bedroom nursing the baby.
Oh, that's great. Great stuff. Okay, Joe, you've been quiet. I can see the thoughts rolling in your head. What do you got to say? Nothing?
Not really.
In regards to building leaders? You've been around a long time. What has worked for you as far as building leaders within your organization?
What's worked? Well, number one, I think it's going at their pace, identifying what it is that they want, and then also pushing the ones that can do more, who are holding themselves back, and trying to break down those walls, those limiting beliefs, as well as, I think that there's also power in events. You know what I mean? I think leaders step up after they start to see something, not just from you and your own personal excitement, but when they see other people's stories, whether, it doesn't even have to be a live event, it's the group setting too, whether it's the group chat or just putting them in your group page, and just seeing other people's excitement helps people to step up and out of their comfort zone. Some people will also just want to be helpers and never really want to become leaders. You know what I mean? Never really want to take an own. They're more comfortable in the helping role. Because they're that, but I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you're good. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot. But I think those are all great things. I think giving them experience, giving them kind of like what Kelly said, kind of treating them as a coach, kind of letting them see the possibilities out there. And they'll always be.
Well, it's like, and I have a little bit of a different philosophy than a lot of people lately in Beachbody. I'm actually trying to do the opposite, where number one, anyone I add going forward, I'm going to teach them to kind of not go off. I feel their strength in numbers, their strength in community. I'm developing a very better system for duplication right now. And so for me, it's what I've seen is a lot of people take on that quote leadership veil way before they're ready also. And then they crumble, and then they fall, and they start doing team calls, for example. And it's the same two people or one person who shows up every week, but every week it's their team. So they're doing like the hollow activities of quote leadership, but they're not building their business. And it's also because I feel like they moved away from the fire too soon. That helped keep them excited, they're trying to take that. Mm-hmm. And some people can take it and run with it. Like Ashley was saying, she can go and do her own stuff. That's her inbred gift. That's her inbred nature. While other people just struggle with that. And I started doing this back in November. As I ran one giant challenge group. It's set up for a year through the app. I have other coaches who are contributing to it. I said, I need help running this. But again, now it's just stepping up to adding new people to that ongoing group, because I feel we get caught personally as Beachbody coaches managing groups or running groups and feeling that's productive, when yes, it is for some people, but at the same time, maybe they've been doing that for 6 months, but their rank stayed the same, their paycheck stayed the same, or their paycheck's gone down. So again, it's focusing on activities that drive your business. And personally, just, creating an ongoing group has simplified that for me and my team. It has taken some of the burden away of having to come up with the new greatest theme or 5-day plan, or, and again, some of that works for some people, but in my space, this business should be simple and duplicatable. And I'm trying to get back to that so I can continue to advance and create new leaders as I move forward.
I think that's great. What I love about that is he's analyzed it, and a lot of times and at some point, that's fine, but we kind of are sheep, just following what everybody else does, not making it personalized to us. And that's what people are attracted to. They're attracted to you. They're attracted to who you are. And if they see themselves, once again, if that gap is narrow enough, they can see themselves say, yeah, I can do what she does or he does. That's great. But you got to make it personalized to you. That's what people are attracted to. So thanks, Joe, for sharing that. And additional thoughts. I like this. This is great.
Joe, I just want to say that I think you really nailed it when you said, as far as I don't remember your exact words, but what I got from it was not everyone's going to be the leader that you want them to be. You can't, building them, assuming that they're going to blow up and be a rock star. I so agree that's what we have. That I think that's what slowed down a lot of our businesses. I know for us, we're customizing every single new coach that comes on board. It's all customization. It's not a cookie cutter training or anything like that. Really focusing on what excites them about the business and starting them there. And again, having duplicatable systems so that they're easy to follow and easy to to use. But I think that's just so true. We want all of our new coaches to be us, you know. We're just like focus driven, but we really have to take time and have patience to really get to know our coaches, even leaders. I've seen leaders on my team where like, oh my God, this person's going to be like passing me by, and she hits one life challenge and now she's totally slowed down. You know, so now it's about me being patient and learning, okay, how can I bring her back? And usually when you bring back people, you can't bring them back through the same road, because it's not a different excitement for them. It's not new. It's like, oh my God, I got to do all that work again to get back up there. So right now I'm struggling with, okay, how do I refocus this person so that she's excited again about the business, and she knows through time and in her own patience, she will see the momentum come. That's a huge challenge right now I'm dealing with in my team.
I 100% agree with that. I think that's something that maybe for another topic, I don't want to stray too far from it, but this whole idea of things changing, things, you know, how we led and how we mentored and how we attracted people, even 6 months to a year ago, is completely different than how it is today. And we need to always be continually rolling with the punches with that. On our last mastermind call, did I share the max 30 principle for those? No? Let me quickly share this, because it has to do, I related it to recruiting, but it's also with leadership. So we have Max 30, Insanity Max 30, hands down the hardest program I think that Beachbody owns. Scares the living daylights out of me. I haven't done it yet. I'm a proud member of that group of Too Scary. And then, but it's so it's extremely difficult. But the whole point of Max 30 is simply to go as long as hard as you can, and to max out. And then when you do that program for the very first day, you write down your time or whatever time you maxed out. For me, it's probably like a minute 22. And then as you do this program over and over again, at some point, at the end of the program, you'll write down your new max time, and hopefully you'll see this transition of, man, I used to max out at 122. Now it's 18 minutes. That's a phenomenal thing. And all Shaun T says is, when you do the program, I want you to be better today than you were last time you did this program, even by 1 second. That's you're bettering yourself. Imagine if Shaun came up to exactly. What if Shaun came to you and says, guys, on day one, I need you to max out at 26 minutes on day one? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But a lot of times we go, as coaches, we go to potential leaders, people on our team, and say, hey, here's where you need to be. I need you maxing out at 26 minutes or whatever that looks like. And so we start treating them like that, when in reality they're maxing out at 2 minutes, and they're not fully developed. They're not there yet as a leader, but they're showing signs. And so all we need to work with them is saying, look, as a mentor, as your leader, I just need you to be 1 second better today than you were yesterday. And let's talk about what that looks like. Let's talk about where you're currently at. I want you, what does maxing out look like to you? Where's the uncomfortable bar? Where is that set? And how can we put together a plan that helps you get over that uncomfortable bar, so that this is something that you can see measurable growth, so that after X amount of days, we can look back and say, yeah, here's where I was and here's where I am. And I'm so grateful that I was able, because you helped me get there. That's where leadership comes in. I still can't figure out. So many coaches I talk with say, I just need to find more people like me. I just need to find people who want it as bad as me. Stop that thought, because that's not how it works. And when you find people like that, guess what? You're irrelevant. They're going to do this business with or without you. You are a worthless, pointless leader. And these people usually come in for the money, for the business. They're not satisfied within the whatever time frame they have up here in their head, and they'll leave. We want people who get the business, who understand who we are, who go through the vital process. And once they see that, people start coming to them, they can start seeing the potential of what leaders are in. And it's going to be you that draws the leader out of them. That's your job. That's your responsibility. I think I use this analogy maybe too often, but it's like taking a little peewee football team, and at the very first practice, they got these oversized pads, huge helmets. They're bouncing off each other. They have no idea what they're doing on their first practice. But you as their coach, as a football coach, you're like, holy crap, this is going to take me forever. But you do it. You do hard things. You have them max out every single practice. You have 2-a-days. They have kids barfing on the side of the field, but that's okay. And they come every single week because they're willing to be better. And at the end of the season, when you're at that championship game, they're going to look you back and say, I'm so glad that I went through this process. It's been hard since day one, but they're at a measurable progressive point because of you. The coach took them there. That's the exact same you. That's who you are to these people. These people are beaten down. These people have tried diet after diet after diet. These people have tried exercise program after exercise program. They have failed 100 times, and they're looking for a victory. They're looking for something to change, and they're putting their last hope and prayer on you as their coach. So what are you going to do with that? How are you going to ensure that they see success? How are you going to ensure that their before picture and their after picture has a measurable difference? And if you just say, well, they just need to do the work, yeah, okay. But how are you going to help develop them into a leader now that their before and after is great? People are coming to them. You do that same thing. Let's take a before picture of your leadership. And then let's put together a plan of how you can become a leader. And it's not pulling them, it's not pushing them, but it's motivating them, it's inspiring them, it's helping them see that this is duplicatable, it's narrowing the gap. All of that stuff comes down to you as their coach making them better. So what do you say? I got a bunch of duds on your team, and maybe this is too blunt. What I hear is I'm not a good enough leader yet. Because people, they need the coach, they need that inspirational figure. And so it's okay, how can I become a leader? How can I help them step up to the plate and do hard things? That should excite you. That should get you excited, because that's where you can make a difference in their lives. And on their obituary, they'll say, and so I'm so great. They're so grateful to my coach, yada, yada, for helping me get. That's where we want to be. We want them helping. We want them to be so thankful for what you have done, rather than, yeah, there's a coach that signed me up, but I did all the work. Be that coach, be that leader, help mentor people to become who they are. And so put together that plan with these, take your A+ people and put together a 60, 90-day plan where there is a before picture and an after picture and what that looks like. So we're out of time. Thanks for everybody for jumping on. Great comments, great content. We will see you in 2 weeks from today. Thanks, guys.